yokunlar, yokunluk was like about 5 stars.
5 star. Review?
5 stars.
Of course.
Okay.
5 stars, yes.
Igorama Beach.
On the beach?
Beach.
That's pretty cool.
持ち帰りで。
わかりました。
持ち帰り。
I've thrown together all the questions I received and I'm just going to answer them as one question. So the question about social life, getting a good work balance, friendships, those are all completely possible. On the JET program, of course, there are so many opportunities for going out and meeting people, to make friends, create a social life for yourself. There are events that are organized where ALTs can get together and you meet other ALTs from other countries. You can share stories about your teaching experiences so far, life back in your home country. Every year there's a mandatory training seminar that happens where all the ALTs in the prefecture get together and catch up on life, how teaching has been so far, the things you're struggling with. You share lesson planning ideas, even cleaning products. You know, most of us don't know what cleaning products to get when you are in your house, how to clean your Japanese home, taking care of the house that you've been provided with. There's certain ways to clean it, certain products you can use. So we share all of that stuff. So you slowly build a community and you get to know people more. There's lots of drinking parties. There's also a lot of festivals. Yeah, Japan has so many amazing festivals throughout the year, any season, you know, and that's also plenty of opportunity for you to go out and meet people and get to know the culture, get to understand the language more, get to understand the social norms. You get to meet your neighbors if you want, because a lot of the community events that are held, they invite the community out and you get to hang out with your neighbors and they get to know you more. It all just depends on how much you are willing to put yourself out there. For me personally, I am such a homebody. 90%, maybe 85% of the time I'm always inside the house, always indoors. I love my own company. I love spending time by myself and just vibing and just doing whatever I want to do in the house. I do go out, of course. Like, I love partying, I love clubbing, I like going to events and festivals, hiking, going out to the nature, but most of the time you will find me in the house. So I wasn't quite as active in my first year in the ALT space. And if I did want to meet up with other ALTs, there were chat groups, there were Facebook groups that you could join and meet other people and see what events are coming up. And when you are moved into the area that you'll be teaching in, there is someone called an area leader. This is someone that is assigned to your particular area. They are also like an ALT. I think it's a volunteer basis. Yeah, to be an area leader, I think people volunteer for that. And an area leader, basically, they just ensure the well-being of ALTs in the area. And if you need help with anything, you are more than welcome to reach out to them. If you're having trouble settling in or there's an issue at work that you need help with, they are usually the direct line of contact. In the workplace as well, the teaching department, the English teachers were so kind. They were always bringing me snacks, because seasonal snacks are a thing here. Every season there's a new snack, and if they want me to try something, they would bring it to my desk, and I was always eating so much. And they would also invite me out to events or like festivals that were happening. They would invite me out to dinner or like drinking parties or whatever. So there's always opportunity to go out and meet people and make friends. At my school there was a calligraphy club, and they invited me over to spend time with them and just learn calligraphy, and that was fun. And during that process I got closer with some of the teachers, and just seeing them outside of the teaching environment, you see a different personality and different side to them. That's how social connections are built. Getting to know the teachers who facilitate those clubs can lead to friendships outside the school. Like, doing that, you learn so much more about the Japanese culture through them. You learn so much more about the language. If you are studying Japanese, you get to practice speaking it with them. You get to practice all the stuff that you've learned, because to learn Japanese by yourself is so hard. So that also helps you integrate more into society. You build connections that way. Also, around the time that I was here, Amapiano wasn't a thing. When Amapiano came, it suddenly created the space where you could meet other people from other countries. Amapiano is a lot bigger than it was back then. Now there are parties happening every weekend. Afrobeat is also big. You get to meet other Africans from countries around the continent. So there are plenty more opportunities now to meet people who have similar backgrounds if you're worried about not fitting in. But of course, if you live in the outskirts, like in the rural areas, it's a lot harder because ALTs are so far wide out. Everyone is spread, and it's a lot harder to make those connections. And traveling to Tokyo is expensive, you know, getting the bullet train, making your way out here to come meet people, that can be expensive. So it all just depends on where you're based and what kind of friendships you build in those areas. When you're in the JET network, there are many things that we're sharing, that we're sharing the same life experiences. There's so many similarities that we have in our lifestyle, so it's easy to have those connections. But now when you're out of that bubble, you are kind of like made to realize how connections can have an impact on your well-being. So when I was in the JET program, I wasn't really focused on making friends. As I said, like, I'm very independent. I can vibe with my own company for like a long time. I can go months without being outside. Like, everyone knows I hibernate in winter. You will not see me. I hardly go out in winter, and mostly because winter is brutal here in Japan. If anyone has told you or you have no idea, it's very tough out here in winter. So I kind of hibernate and I keep indoors. I go to work, I come back. I still maintain my JET program friendships that I made. I still maintain friendships with people who have moved away. That's the other thing with making friends on the JET program. You may have come together on the program as a group and you may have met people along the way, but sometimes, you know, life happens. People get married, people have children, priorities change, people move away. And so whoever you build connections with, there is always that chance that people will move to another prefecture or just leave the country entirely and move somewhere else or move back home. So then you have to start again. Now that I'm out of the JET program, a lot of the way I approach friendships has changed. I think the season I am in my life right now requires different things from a friendship than I required back when I was in the JET program. On the JET program, you're fresh into the country, you're excited by things, you're still starry-eyed, everything looks shiny and exciting, and you're just meeting people left, right, and center, and it's all fun. And then later on, you start settling into the reality of life outside of that bubble, outside of the JET net. The JET net? Yeah, so I've had to navigate myself very differently now than I would have when I was on the JET program. Like the way I navigate or carry myself through the world. I know the kind of energy that I have. I know the kind of, because people are always telling me like, oh, you're so chill, you're so this and this and this. And even if they didn't tell me, I would still know that I had that energy about me because of how I was raised. You know, my mom ran a very open and welcoming household. So there were always just people coming in and out of the house. My mom would prepare food and it's all just chats and good vibes. You know, there's laughter, just all around good vibes. So that's how I was raised. That's how my family was in general. That's the kind of energy I've carried with me in my life. With that energy, it has been to my detriment sometimes. Where you're also open, you're also welcoming. And that can be taken advantage of sometimes, you know. And so the season that I am in right now in my life, I'm very cautious of where my energy is, where I put it towards. I'm very intentional about the kind of friendships that I make. As much as people love my energy and what it does for them, I'm at a place now where I also need a certain kind of energy in my orbit. I'm more intentional now about who I let into my circle or who I spend my time with and spend my energy with. It hasn't always been like that. I've had to kind of learn that along the way. You can get to situations where it feels like people just like your energy for what it does for them. They like your energy or your presence and what that does for them. They like your time for what it does for them. They like certain things about you that make them feel good or feel whatever. You know what I mean? And sometimes it just gets to a point where they value that more than you as a person. I'm just a very chilled person. I don't like drama. I don't like negative things. I love how to my people I'm present and I show up where I need to show up. And unfortunately, sometimes when you now need that kind of presence, it's not there in the same way that you would have expected it to be. I think it happens with a lot of us in life where you are giving more than you are receiving. And it's such an unfortunate way to think about friendships. Like it's like almost like a transaction. And I don't approach my friendships in that way. But sometimes it can feel like that when you show up more, you care more, or you support more, or you do whatever more. And the ones who you would expect the same from kind of let you down or they fall short in some way. And they just don't show up for you in the same way that you would have thought they would. And kind of does let you feel disappointed and you feel let down. It's like being out on a boat in the ocean and you're trying to get back to shore and the water is just wild and carrying you along and you're just trying to row back to the shore. You'll have someone in the boat with you. In that moment, they're like, yeah, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're doing great. You know, you're almost there. And they're cheering you on and cheering you on. And actually what you need in that moment is for them to sit next to you, grab one oar, and then you guys are both rowing together. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but yeah, you get the idea. Or maybe like, you know how in African cultures where there's a ceremony happening, or there's a wedding or a funeral, and it's hands on deck, everyone's got their hand in something, you know? People are in the kitchen, they're chopping the vegetables, one person's managing the dish flow, making sure things like are getting cleaned, another one's doing this outside, whatever. Some people are outside preparing the meat, and then you'll get that one person in the living room, and they're watching television or on their phone or whatever, while everybody else is busy and trying to get things done. And this one person is just like they're not really doing that much, you know? They might even look at their watch and be like, oh, it's 2 o'clock, guys, you're doing well. They come and ask, when is the food ready? Just not really doing much, you know? That's how it can feel sometimes. Like you're needing this thing to get done and everybody's got their hands in something, they're all helping, you know? And there's one person or people who you would have expected to be helping as well, and they're just there, you know? And you've got choices in that situation. You can either go to the person and be like, hey, so earlier when we were doing this, I would have appreciated it if you stepped in and like maybe helped. You could have gone outside and helped to set up the tent. You could have helped with setting up the chairs for the guests, show guests where to park, stuff like that. And you can be like, hey, so next time there is such an event, do you think you'd be able to help in that capacity? And they can either say yes or no or whatever, and you move from there. Because some people really don't have the capacity to show up in the way that you would like them to show up. And you can't blame them for that. You can't be angry at that. You can't fuss over it, you know? People can only show up for you in the best way that they can. And when you have those conversations, it also helps you to know next time who you can call, who you can rely on when stuff happens. Sometimes a conversation doesn't even need to happen. Like, you can just take the situation for what it is, you make a note of it, or you keep it moving. And you can't what do they say, you can't expect yourself from other people. You know, everybody's carrying something, everybody is dealing with something. If you're dealing with whatever you're dealing with and another person can't exactly meet you where you are in the way that you would want them to, you can't now be mad at that. You can't expect them to be what they're not, or you can't expect them to give what they can't give, to be there for you in a way that you are for them, to show up for you in a way that you show up for them. So it's very unfair, I think, to expect things from people. You're not entitled to anybody. You're not entitled to anybody's time, anybody's presence, anybody's attention in this phase that I'm in, this chapter. I don't take lightly who I spend my time with. I am, of course, I am open to meeting new people. I love making new friends. I love getting to know their life story, all that stuff. I guess that's the journalist in me, but whatever. But I just love, like, my friends know when we're out partying or whatever, you can find me in two places, either on the dance floor or I'm out chatting with someone outside, and I'll be there for like a long time because people are so interesting, man. Like, you meet, especially here in Japan, there are so many interesting people that you'll meet out here. People who live lives or experience things that you never even thought were possible. So many conversations you have, so many perspectives you get about things in life. So many, I just love learning. I love learning. And yeah, meeting people is just always something I'll forever be open to, you know? But even with that, I'm still very strict about who I open myself up to. Like, my friends know that I love blocking people. Blocking. I will block. I do not hesitate. I never have hesitated. The second I sense harmful, non-peaceful things, weird vibes, or you're doing weird things, or you just being shady, or
디스커스팅한 냄새가 나요.
you know, those people who are secretly competing with you but they actually don't like you. It's such a weird thing for me. I still haven't quite understood that. It makes no sense. Like, why do you...
What's going on? Y'all are going to jail! Period!
But yeah, I will block people. I mean, I don't always do it. It depends on the gravity of the situation. If there's one thing I've learned, you have to protect yourself. I lead a very peaceful life. It has taken years to build the life that I have. And anything that harms or disrupts that, it gets very quickly removed. It doesn't always come down to a block. Sometimes I will just distance myself, you know, and you'll never hear from me again. Like, the love is still there. The care is still there. I'm still rooting for you, but I will do it from afar. I don't have time for animosity or harboring things. Like, it's just a waste of emotion for me. Anyway, learn the Japanese culture, learn the Japanese language, chat to your neighbors, chat to your teachers, your supervisors. There's so many opportunities for you to create the life that you want. Making friends with either Japanese people or non-Japanese people is very possible. I think you have to decide for yourself what kind of friendships you want. The initiative is all on you. You can't complain and be like, oh, Japanese people this. Have you made the effort to learn what life your Japanese friends might be living? Have you made the effort to understand their work-life balance? Do you know what your Japanese friend's life is like? Those are the things that you have to consider when you're building connections, you know. Define what friendship means for you. What values matter to you in a friend? What things won't you stand for? What things can you make room for to understand better? And of course, it doesn't have to be that deep, you know. Some people are okay with surface level friendships. You just meet people after work, you have drinks, you go partying together, hiking together, you join a club, you vent, you laugh, you do all that stuff, and you go home and you carry on about your life. For some people, that's enough. They get by, they're happy. And then for other people who would like deeper friendships, consider all the things that you need to consider to make those things happen. So the world is already hard as it is, and you don't need extra things to make your life harder. You know, we're all just dealing with a lot. You know, life is a lot, you know, and you don't need things or people who make your life even harder, you know. You can, if you have a family, you can move them over with you. You just have to indicate that on your application form, and then you'll be told about the next steps after that. I personally do not know any people who moved over with their family from South Africa to Japan, so I can't give full information about that. If you Google and you search on YouTube, there is a bunch of information and YouTubers who have created that kind of content, who have successfully moved over with their families. I have heard of couples moving together, people with children bringing their children along. There is a YouTuber, I forgot the name. She is South African, so she moved over with her husband and 4 children. So it is very, very, very possible to do that. I'll try to find the YouTube channel so you can watch her content and get a clearer idea of what that situation is like. The only thing that I can mention that is useful, there are couples who put their kids into traditional Japanese schools. They plan to stay here long term and they want their kids to grow up bilingual. If you don't want to enroll your kids into a traditional Japanese school where they will have to be spoken to and taught in Japanese, or you think it might be a bit of a stress on your child to put them in a Japanese school, there are a lot of schools that take on non-Japanese students. So there are Indian schools, there are French schools, Portuguese. I've seen private tutoring for Russian, Greek, Italian. It's a lot. You just have to do a lot of research for yourself and your family. And then there were questions about dating as well. Dating in Japan. Dating in Japan. Dating.
2 hours later.
There are dating apps. There are situations where you meet a friend of a friend or mutual friends or whatever. Some things I've heard from my friends who are straight and they've tried dating Japanese men. The main things I heard from was about like how you don't hear back for a while, or there's a language barrier, of course. You know, even if you are studying Japanese, the vocabulary needed to move a relationship forward is not there. That of course affects the dating experience. I've also heard of situations where on the dating apps, on the Japanese side of things, they're getting on there so they can find people to teach them English for free. So learning English is one of like the biggest industries here, and some people don't want to pay for the extra classes or tutoring, so they get onto the dating apps to try and find people who will teach them English for free. I've heard of stories where there's mixed signals given or miscommunication. That can be for a number of reasons as well, but it's usually like a language and social norms or cultural practices. You know, some things that are okay in the West might not be okay over here, or some things that are done very quickly in the West, or things that are you wouldn't think twice about it, take more time this side. I remember a friend of mine once told me like this guy took forever to just even kiss her or like even show some form of affection, and she always thought like he wasn't interested in her, so that kind of led to things fizzling out. So I don't think Japan is unique to cross-cultural dating struggles that any other relationship would see. As with any cross-cultural relationship that you embark on, you can expect to find whatever challenges there may be. Sometimes there may not even be any challenges and it's smooth sailing. And even if you aren't necessarily interested in dating a Japanese person, you meet all sorts of people here, and even in that there would be a whole host of challenges that you might face. So I can't say that dating in Japan is good or bad, or hard or not hard. It all comes with the territory, the socio-economic political climate that we're in as well. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. I think the hardest thing is the work-life balance, because Japanese people work a lot, and it's hard to build a relationship when work demands are so heavy on the population. I think that's the biggest hurdle that people that I have heard stories from faced. So yeah, I can't necessarily say. And then on the queer side of things, again, as with anywhere in the world, there is a small community of queer people that narrows your options further down. When it comes to meeting people, there are pride events, there are queer spaces that exist. And as with anywhere in the world, spaces that do exist mostly cater for men. The women's spaces are few and far in between. So you really have to search and look. The other thing is, those spaces mostly exist in Tokyo, Osaka as well. If your JET program placement is in the rural side, you obviously will be faced with that challenge of having your options even more limited. You would have to travel to be in those spaces, to be around queer folk, you know what I mean? And if you can't make those trips, of course dating apps are always there too. So I hope I've answered that question. I don't know if I've answered it well enough, but I hope it has given you some idea. If you go on YouTube and you type in what questions are asked, you will find hundreds of thousands of videos from jets all over the world who've made videos about this. You can sift through them and get an idea of the kind of questions that are asked. No exact same questions are asked to all the applicants. It all depends, I think, on your statement of purpose. During the application process, there's a motivational essay that you have to write. You basically have to state why you're applying for the JET program, why you are an ideal candidate. If you go to the website, all the details are there about what they want you to write about. So during the interview, a bulk of the questions are going to be based on your statement of purpose. If you lied or you copied from somewhere on the internet or you used ChatGPT and they ask you that stuff in the interview, I think they will be able to pick that up. And after all these years of interviewing people, I think they'll be able to pick it up that you're lying or something's just not matching or adding up. So the best thing I can say is just be honest and show your personality on paper. They want to see who you are. What you've said on paper is who you are in person as well, you know? So you kind of gotta not take chances when it comes to that. So the questions I was asked were stuff about my statement of purpose, of course, like questions about teaching experience. You have never been a teacher before, you can talk about volunteerism. If you've volunteered for something, please include that. If you've done any coaching, mentoring, if you ever participated in after-school programs, if you ever ran any study groups, if you were into tutoring, like just list all the things that you can to make your application stronger. Because if you've had experience in those things, it kind of gives them the idea that you don't need as much training and that you'll just adapt very easily into the environment. So these are the questions that you also get around adaptability. They want to see that you'll be able to survive here in Japan. So think about any experience where you've had to come out of your comfort zone and experience a new culture, a new way of doing things, a new language that you've been exposed to, and how you interacted with that, or how you carried yourself in that experience. They want to hear those stories. If you have any travel experience, if you've traveled to countries outside of your own, they want to hear those stories. What stuff you enjoyed learning in that country, adventures you had in that country, you know, just tell them all the stuff that you did. If you have experience living abroad or studying abroad, also include that. If you've had exposure to various working conditions, that also gives them an idea that you're able to handle different types of situations, you're able to handle different types of personas, and basically you're able to integrate in whatever environment that you put in. And then they're going to ask you questions about Japanese culture. Why did you apply to Japan? What do you know about Japanese culture? How did you know about Japanese culture? So yeah, whatever questions they throw at you about Japanese culture, just be ready. They also asked me about my hobbies. What hobbies did I like doing? I think they asked that just to see like how sociable you are. Like, do you have a social life outside work? Because when you get here in Japan, the mental side of things can get to you. So if you at least have a club that you belong to, or you've got hobbies on the side, and you've got a life outside of work that can distract you from a mental breakdown, basically. And they ask you questions about your mental fitness. Are you mentally fit to live, teach, and survive here? This question is, I didn't realize it at the time, and I know I can see now why they ask it. Because when you get here, you need every fiber of mental strength to get you through each day. There are things that once you live here start affecting you in a way that you never thought they would. Like, you can do all the research and watch whatever videos, but when you're actually living in it, there are things that challenge you in a way that you didn't think they would. And so you have to rely on your mental strengths to fall back on. And then they also asked me about my letters of references. So when you apply, you have to submit 2 letters of reference. So they asked me questions about what my references had written in their letters. So I had asked my lecturer, one of my English lecturers, and I asked a supervisor of mine from work. You got to make sure that your references are writing about your character, not about the job that you're doing or whatever, you know, because they're not interested in how good of a journalist I was, or they want to know like how I was, how I carried myself, how I behaved, all that stuff. So make sure the people you ask to be your references, make sure they know your character so that they can sell you the best on paper. So thank you once again to everybody who sent questions, everyone who remains inquisitive and curious about the world around them. Keep doing that. Keep finding out about the world around you. Keep finding out about the opportunities available to you. It may not be the JET program that you want to sign up for. It may not be Japan that you want to move to. There are literally so many options available to you. If anything, I hope this video has helped you expand your knowledge about what is out there. Enjoy the connections that you make. Enjoy the life that you are creating for yourself. It's never too late to start something new. It's never too late to start an adventure. You learn so much about yourself. You grow as a person in ways that you never even thought about. So thank you also for your time and watching this video. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. I will continue to make videos about life in Japan, and I will also be open to more questions that you might have, JET related or otherwise. So yeah, please subscribe and share this video. Thanks for watching.